There are countless people that have come up to me and said that show literally saved my life.
It warms my heart because I don't feel alone in this feeling.
Oh, no, you're not alone at all.
You say fame to me, I know what it means. I mean, I really know that feeling of like, there's no manual. So then you're famous and the show's over. So what's your mindset?
To some extent, I felt guilt.
Guilt? Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'm obsessed with Gunsmoke, so that's where I want to start.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
I'm obsessed with. I bought like every Gunsmoke episode ever.
Oh.
Like it's like 800. It's like something. You got to be something wrong with you to watch them all. And I've watched a lot of them.
It was on what, 20 years?
Something like that. You know, one interesting thing about that because you were on the show, was
twice.
they debated for many years whether or not James Arness would get with the woman whose name I can't think of, played the proprietor of the saloon.
Oh, really?
Kitty.
Yeah.
Because fans would always say, are Kitty and the Marshal ever going to get together? And they made a decision, kind of like The Simpsons did, where they decided to never age Bart. They made a decision that the secret of the show's success was that they never get together romantically.
Right.
They would hint at it.
That was
maybe
good.
a one-night stand, but never together. And they believed that had to do with the longevity, that they never gave away.
That's it, yes.
Yeah.
Keep that tension.
So, obviously, you were very young when you were on the show, 7 years old or so.
Yeah, I think I was, on Gunsmoke, I was 6 for the first episode. Yeah. And speaking of, romantic relationships, the mother, the story is about a mother, a widow with 2 children. Of course, I was one of them. Festus is sweet on her.
Okay.
And it played really well with the audience. So they did a second episode, and they were thinking about having him get hitched. And so I might have been a regular on Gunsmoke.
Abelia?
Yes.
Was the episode 1?
Yes. And then
the
second
man called
one,
Smith.
Yes. Earl Holliman played the father.
So the nerd in me wants to know what it would be like to be on a set like that. I mean, obviously you were a kid, but did you have a memory of
totally.
Like this? Because it was the whole, and I watched some of the scenes that you were in. It's like the whole city, all the buildings and the carts going by with the horses and all that.
Yeah, I didn't see that until the second episode.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's the clip that I saw.
Took place at our house, and it was rural. And the second episode was especially fun because the kids were entering our animals in a fair. So we had a goat, and then we had this adorable piglet named Thomas. And so I got to work with the piglet, and I have Ellie Mae Clampett syndrome, so I was over the moon about that.
So is that something you reflect on fondly? I mean, it's such a distant memory, but it must be kind of cool,
I reflect very fondly. One of the most fond things is Ken Curtis, who played Festus.
Right.
And I don't know how many people know this, but he was also a big band singer.
Did not know that.
Yeah. And he had a beautiful voice. And when
he had a kind of a melodious way of talking, which is interesting.
Yeah. I think musical instincts get used in everything you do. And my mom overheard him because he would pretty much stay in character. And he had that voice.
Even with the cameras off?
Yeah. And then, but when we'd rap, then like he's on the phone, and my mom's just thinking, gee, that man has a sexy voice, and turns around, it's Festus. Oh. He was actually a really good-looking man with a beautiful speaking voice, a beautiful singing voice, and I was enthralled with the fact that he could change so drastically. I thought, wow, that's a real actor. And he was so freaking nice. I mean, he was so sweet, considerate, and, praising, just a dream to work with.
James Arness was sort of handpicked almost by John Wayne. It was
okay.
John Wayne had a lot to do with the opening of Gunsmoke as a show. He kind of endorsed not only the show, but also endorsed James Arness. So he has got this, this kind of magisterial presence and all that. That's what I love about the show. It obviously is set in the Old West, but has this kind of mythical quality that a lot of the great.
Yeah, bigger than life. And I don't know if I even had a single scene with Arness.
Yeah.
But
I would think you would remember because he was a big guy.
Yeah, well, because he wasn't on the set, I used to sit in his rocking chair.
So I know your family had some tie to show business and your brother and stuff like that. But I mean, as a 6-year-old, are you conscious like I'm in show business?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Can you walk me through that a little bit?
Well, I mean, okay, it's so weird. There's 4 kids in the family, and every one of us got discovered. It began with my brother Larry, he was 24 when I was born. So I mean, there's a big age gap. Yeah, and there's 10 years between he and my next brother, and then 8 years between him and my sister. They were supposed to be done, but then I came along. Yeah. Big surprise.
The biggest of them all.
Well, as it turned out, but it began with my oldest brother, who looked like a cherub. He's a beautiful, beautiful child. And a lady pulled up in her car, my mom and his name is Larry Joe. They were standing on a street corner waiting to go across to
like
have
something
lunch.
Out of a movie.
Totally. I mean, I don't know how many people will believe it if I ever get off my butt and write my memoirs. But so she pulls over the car, she hands Mom her card and says, "Is this little boy in pictures?" And she said, "No."
Pictures.
That's
going
pictures.
Way back. Yeah, we're going way back.
And she goes, "Well, he should be. He's beautiful. And they're looking for a little boy just like this. Have him at Fox Studios tomorrow at 4:00. My name is Lola Moore, and this is my card. I'm an agent, and so take him on this audition. I think he'd be perfect." So Mom goes to lunch. She's having lunch with her mother, and her mother says, "Oh, I've been praying for this. He's too
I wish I had
beautiful."
a grandmother praying for me to be in movies.
Yeah, she was a good prayer. So she was thrilled. She's like, "Well, this is an answer to a prayer, and you must take him." And Mom goes home, tells my dad. My dad says, "No way. No way."
So no stage parenting here.
No,
just strictly like something from the sky.
My dad used to bribe me every season to quit Brady Bunch.
We'll get there.
Okay. So he's like, "No way. No, that's not happening." And Mom goes, "Oh, come on. He's not a professional. I'd love to see what the inside of a studio looks like.
It sounds like a fun adventure, yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, okay." So she goes, and my brother ends up walking out of the audition with the script in hand, and he has the part in a movie called Happy Land with Don Amici and Francis D. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Not insignificant. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so he starts working. Well, 10 years go by, and my next brother was born. And for lack of a babysitter or something, Mom takes him on the set. My brother Larry is working.
I see where this is going.
Oh, yeah. A director or producer walks on the set, takes one look at my brother Chris, who is 14 months old, and says, "That baby, he has a mouth like Gene Tierney. I need a child to play Gene Tierney's son for this movie called The Iron Curtain."
Gene Tierney, who was discovered standing in the Universal tour line.
Really?
Did you not know that?
No, I did
That's
not.
how she was 16, 17.
Wow, no.
They literally discovered her standing in the line.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And if I'm wrong, it might be Ava Gardner, but I'm pretty sure Gene Tierney was discovered the same way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and there's always
Schwab's
drugstore.
Oh yeah, then Lana Turner and all that. Yeah.
I mean, that's how it happened. That was how the magic happened back then.
So
he started.
Oh, I didn't want to.
And then my sister came along, and of course my dad was putting his foot down, saying no, but my mom won. And so he started
your
working.
parents made some TV-ready babies because...
They did. They had cute kids. And my brother Chris is most known for, he played the child in The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Okay.
With Jimmy Stewart and Doris Day.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, and he was the first person to record Que Sera, Sera. Yeah,
good history.
Really, yeah. So then my sister comes along. She gets discovered to be in a commercial or something.
This is like, it's almost too good to be true.
I know. Nobody will ever believe it. I believe she was almost in The Sound of Music, but I came along, the big surprise package, and I don't know. My sister still says that she jinxed it because she didn't want to have to go to Europe when Mom was having a baby. Oh. So anyway, so she didn't do that, but she did several pilots for TV shows, and one of them sold, and she would have been on a TV show. But it was starring Ann Southern, and the sponsors, I think it was Colgate, told her to lose 10 pounds, and she told them where to go and no more TV show. So my sister got really frustrated by that and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And so my mom, and in the meantime, I had gotten picked, discovered to do like some commercial.
You did a commercial when you were like a baby, right?
Yeah, 14 months.
Right. Do you know how much you made as a baby?
No, probably $5. I mean, we didn't get paid much on Brady Bunch. So anyway, my sister wants out. My brother Larry has gotten married, and he's out of the business. Chris is out of the business, and so Mom takes me out and says, "I'm going to have a normal life. Everything's going to be perfectly fine. I'll bake cookies, go to PTA." And when I'm 5 years old in kindergarten, a talent scout from the Pat Boon show. I mean, and it's my grandmother.
Full disclosure, my father hated Pat Boone, but I just need to put that out there. Every time Pat Boone came on the screen, my father would go into a rage.
Really?
Yeah, he hated Pat Boone. It was like an obsession.
Wow. Well,
you're just triggering a particular memory in my mind.
I could kind of
Poor
see
Pat
that
Boone,
because
I like Pat Boone,
But my father he did these very tame versions of good songs.
I think my father was a musician, so I think that's what set him off.
There you go.
I think it was his version of Tutti Frutti.
Yes, I was thinking of that specifically. Yes. Okay.
See, we got a good psychic thing going on, right?
Yeah,
Come on. Come on.
We do. So anyway, I get picked to sing a song on the Pat Boone show. And
do you remember the song?
Yeah, I'm a Believer by the Monkees.
Wow.
Yeah. But
now that's a good one.
Yeah, I guess I got picked because I would do all the background instruments. Like I'd try to sing those along with the lyrics. We were trying desperately to find it. No. And here's another psychic. Well, maybe not a psychic thing, but a magical thing.
Okay.
When it was supposed to come on, well, I screwed up. I screwed up the lyrics, and I was devastated. I messed this up, and Pat Boone is saying, well, start over again. I'm like, no, can't do that.
It's live TV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I didn't sing the song, and I'm just like, move along,
it's like
Pat.
we're on the borderline of trauma and sort of Andy Kaufman-esque, performance art.
I was just like, no, I don't get another chance.
That's kind of a weird thing to ask a 7-year-old kid to sing, I'm a Believer.
Well, I got picked because I sang it well.
Kind of a sophisticated, but it was kind of a tricky song.
That's what I did when they called me in. I was in kindergarten. They wanted to see
Did you have musical training?
No.
Okay, just natural.
No, but we all had a good ear.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, music tends to run in the family or not. So.
Yeah, it does. And and plus I was doing all the doodly 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 doodly. So I guess it was really cute, but I'll never know. And,
but you know what? I do, as somebody who likes this stuff, it's amazing what they keep finding.
Yes. I would love to find my sister's pilot for the TV show that she did, because we don't have any film on her. We've got plenty on me.
Like recently there was something like a Pink Floyd clip or something of them on TV in 67 that was considered forever lost.
Oh.
And somebody found it and was able to kind of color correct it. And
that's great.
So after 50 years, here's suddenly this clip, So those things do tend to pop up.
I would love that because I produced a special called Brady Bunch Home Movies, and we tried to find a lot of old things that we were told were definitely lost. But if they showed up, that would be great. So anyway, when I was mortified to see it on TV because I go home and my mom's going, "Why didn't you sing it? Why didn't you start over?" Well, I can. So the day came for it to air. And of course, we have to go over to my mother's friend's house and everybody's gathered around the TV. And I'm mortified. Yeah, I'm like, please, God, let there be an earthquake or a fire or something so I don't have to watch this. Well.
There was an earthquake?
No, but President Johnson came on and said that I think we had invaded Cambodia.
So you were saved?
Yes.
But maybe that's why no copies exist.
It could be, yeah. Maybe, it could be because it never aired. Yeah, because it wasn't live TV. It was taped, but so it never aired. And I thought I was really powerful. I didn't think I was responsible for the Vietnam War. But I thought, wow, thank you, thanks. Wow. I didn't have to see it.
So I'd be remiss to. Recently, I was in an Elvis doc. That came out about Elvis's comeback 68 special. And I was friends with his daughter, Lisa Marie. So I love all things Elvis.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you had this uncredited moment in an Elvis film where you are singing.
Yes. And at the time, I don't know.
It was his last film. It was kind of when it was getting really
out. It was?
You didn't know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The original...
Is it The Trouble with Girls?
Yes, it was originally titled Chautauqua. And
I wonder why he went. I wonder why he
was.
Went back to rock and roll.
And it was it's considered one of his better ones. And I was auditioning for a large role, and I would have had to sing and dance and all this stuff.
Do you remember the auditions?
Yes, I do. And at the time, I wasn't a fan of Elvis.
Sure. But just because I love this stuff because I love old Hollywood. So what would be a typical audition on a picture like that? Do they have you? They talk to you a bit? Are you on camera? Like, just walk me through a little bit of the audition process.
Usually, they would spend some time talking to the child to get to know if they were a brat or if they were nice.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's something that really needs to be done. Then you would have your sides, you would have your scenes that you've memorized, and you want to be off book to impress them with how well you can memorize.
Okay. And
then in the case of like this, there was also a singing audition. So, and I remember it was a Shirley Temple song, but not a real well-known one.
Obscure Temple.
Yeah. So my mother rehearsed me to death.
Are you by nature competitive? Are you competitive in this frame set? Or are you just like having fun and it's a thing?
It's fun. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get competitive until later when Jodie Foster was getting all the roles that I wanted.
Yeah, I get that.
And maybe a little before that, because I definitely wanted a TV show, a series. I wanted a steady job. And I was, very saddened. I did an episode of a show called Julia with Diane Carroll, very, very ahead of its time show about a single mother working as a nurse.
This is pre-Brady Bunch.
Yes. And and I went, she was the nicest lady, and she took me into her dressing room and said, anytime you feel, because there were 2 other boys on the set, she said, if the boys are irritating you want any alone time, you can always come to my dressing room. And I'm looking around, she had all these posters for the show. All the posters had the 2 boys in them. I'm like, oh, they're not just guest stars like me. They're on this show. Wow. And I went to my mother afterwards, and she goes, they're series regulars. I want to be a fairy regular. I want a fairy. And so she goes, okay, when you go home, call your agent. And I did. I want fairy. Okay.
At 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, actually, I was 6 because it was 3 days after my 7th birthday. We were in Las Vegas and vacationing, and the agent called and said, she has an audition. I said, we're on vacation. She said, well, this is for a series. Oh, okay.
This is for Brady?
Yes,
audition?
this was Brady, yeah. But in the meantime, I guess I'd been praying a little too hard because there was talk of Gunsmoke, and I was also up for Nanny and the Professor.
I remember that show.
And my grandmother, my magical grandmother.
Another unrequited sexual tension between the nanny and the professor.
Oh, yes,
right?
Very much so. Yeah, I think that.
Who was the professor? Was it Sebastian Cabot? Or?
No, he was a.
That was the other show.
Can't think of. Yeah, he was kind of good-looking guy.
Was it Bill Bixby?
No. Not that good looking. He died young.
Somewhere, a guy's doing a spit take. What are you talking about, Susan?
He's no longer with us.
Oh, God
so
bless.
I was free to say that. And Juliette Mills was Nanny. I don't remember. It was Richard something. But anyway, so my grandmother, with her magical thinking, comes to me and she goes, whatever's best. And I sound very religious. I'm actually allergic to religion. But I believe a lot in God, and I was taught to pray, and my prayers tended to come true. And so my grandma said, "Okay, now you have these 3 shows, and whatever's best, God will have whatever's best happen. But it wouldn't hurt if you let Him know which one you wanted most."
So did you pick?
Well, it was really, I knew I didn't want Nanny and the Professor because there were only 2 other boys to play with. And, but gosh, Brady Bunch, there's 5 other kids. But Gunsmoke has horses. Maybe Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Little did you know. So when you auditioned for Brady Bunch, was it Sherwood Schwartz?
Yes, Sherwood Schwartz, John Rich, who directed the first 6 episodes, and Jack Arnold, who directed Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what I knew him for.
Sure.
To me, that was his claim to fame.
Yeah, that's not a bad claim to fame.
No,
If you're going to go down,
yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, and there are a couple of other horror films that he did, but he was a producer on Brady Bunch, and he had been a producer on Gilligan's Island,
Sure.
which Sherwood Schwartz had done. So I walk in, it's 3 days after my 7th birthday. They asked me how old I am, and I told them that it had been my birthday, and they all sang happy birthday to me.
Oh.
And I thought, well, okay.
I like it here.
These are good people.
Yeah.
And I never had to do any scenes. I never auditioned as an actor.
They just wanted to see you.
They wanted, and this was the genius of Sherwood. He rejected or resisted the network wanting to have a smart kid, a stupid kid, a fat kid. And he said, no, I want to find 6 interesting kids and build the show around them.
Yeah, and knowing I was going to talk to you, and I mean, I saw every episode like 40 times.
Oh.
What was the nature of Chicago television at that time?
Yeah.
Like most people in the 70s, we had the 4 stations.
Okay.
And, we'd be home from school and you guys were on like every day.
Yeah.
So we all saw those episodes. But I guess what I'm after is in watching some of the stuff again, just to kind of put myself back in the headspace, because I feel it's not fair to sort of rely only on my memory.
Well,
It's
bless you.
It's like, but it also reconnects you to sort of the 3-dimensional experience.
Yes.
Because time has a way of changing what you remember.
Oh, yes.
And the thing that really, really jumped out at me very, very starkly was the chemistry between the cast is just magical. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
I was lucky to talk to Mary Lou Henner in the chair where you are. Same thing, Taxi, right? Just something about a certain cast.
Yeah.
They have almost like
ensemble cast.
They almost have a natural thing with each other. It's almost, and it's not family, so it makes it bizarre because it's like, how do you take strangers essentially, put them in a hopper, and suddenly it just kind of clicks Bands are similar too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. There's suddenly it's like there's a rapport and you don't even know why.
Yeah. And it's even more important with the band because, you're improvising and.
Well, but again,
you're coming up with your own material and not doing the lines somebody else wrote.
In my elder years here, I've kind of come to this new conclusion that people watching anything, a show, a live show, a television show, I think they read body language more than they read what's actually being hear what's actually being said. Something about the body language, I think, gives more information.
And I'll take it a little further into woo-woo.
Okay, I love it.
I think that people are far more psychic than they realize, or than they're given credit for. And people will ask me the age-old question: "What made the Brady Bunch successful?" Like
there's a new one.
Yeah, and I say people are psychic, and the love between us was genuine.
Yeah,
the only difference was we didn't fight as much as the characters did on the show.
Yeah,
we really got along.
So I do want to talk about the Brady Bunch, but I'm interested in talking about a lot of other stuff. So
cool.
So we'll do a little parlor trick here. So September 26, 1969 was the Brady premiere. And then the last show, where are we? My color card here, was called The Harebrained Scheme.
Oh, yeah.
March 8th, 1974. ABC cancels the show because ratings had gone down a bit. Mm-hmm. And you had a 5-year run.
Well, we also had a 5-year contract that had to be renewed. And now we were asking for money.
See, that's the real story. That's the real story.
Yeah. Now we wanted to be paid.
They blamed it on the ratings, but it probably was a money thing. Bobby had a get-rich scheme, and Greg's hair turned orange. Mm-hmm. I was struck, just as a quick thing, and I do want to circle back, but I was impressed because here's just a partial list of people that were guest stars, because I was struck by the idea that here you are, between the ages of 7 and 12, and here are these people floating through your life at a very young age: Desi Arnaz Jr., Davy Jones of the Monkees, Joe Namath, Imogene Coco, Vincent Price, Ken Berry, who obviously did a ton of Disney movies, Jackie Coogan,
yes,
Jim Backus from Gilligan, of course, and Mr. Magoo, Don Ho.
Yeah.
And Natalie Schaefer, who, of course, played Mrs. Howell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you conscious enough of the zeitgeist of the times to sort of be like, oh, my God, it's Don Ho?
Yes. Not Don Ho. I had no clue who he was, but I thought that his partner was really cute.
What was his name? Blowing Bubbles?
Yeah, Tiny Bubbles.
Tiny Bubbles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Come on.
And he sang the song Sweet Someone, but his friend, Sam Capu, I think his name was really cute. So I was like, oh. But Don was so nice. We went back. We did a return to Hawaii for the Travel Channel.
I remember that.
Really?
Yes.
Really? You're one of the 5 people that saw it. Wow.
Yeah. That's maybe why we're here together. It was meant to be. I'm being rewarded.
But Don was wonderful. And he gave me a set of Mai Tai glasses. So
okay.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool because I'd forgotten about the kind of the cross-cultural pollination that a show having a zeitgeist moment like the Brady Bunch did in those original series years. It gets into this, like, it becomes a snapshot of the America that I remember. Right.
And we had the astronaut.
Buzz Aldrin, maybe?
Yeah, no, it was another one. Shoot, I can't remember who. And I was aware kind of him. I was like, wow, he's been Joe Namath was adorable. So nice. And remains so nice.
Yeah. Okay, so jumping ahead, because before we circle back here, 12 years old, you're famous and the show's over. Mm-hmm. So what's your mindset at that? And by the way, you're entering those wonderful, awkward years that we all get to go through.
Well, surprising you should mention that. I to some extent, I felt guilt because...
Wait, guilt?
Yeah, because I'd been praying for the show to be canceled.
Okay.
Because I was going through those awkward years.
Is it because people were recognizing you and
It's bad enough to go through your awkward stage and to feel really ugly, but doing it on national TV is not something I wanted to do.
Let me ask you an aside question, because I thought about this with you, and I've known a few other people. They're names that you and I would know, and so would anybody watching, but I don't want to talk about them in that context. But there's something about being that famous at a young age that sort of changes the temperature of a person's life. It becomes a thing. I was famous in my 20s, and I still feel at times this
That's
weird.
pretty young.
Yes, it's at the time I thought, oh my God, I'm old and this is too late. But I'm saying there's still that thing that happens, whether you're 40 or 50 or whatever, you're walking through an airport and somebody's like, they want to talk about something that happened 20, 30 years ago. So I have a hard time even imagining what that feels like to a young person who hasn't even had the time to kind of do their own version of it.
Yeah.
So what the question I would ask you is do you think it's right that children work at that level in the entertainment industry?
It's a difficult question because I actually teach children. And my attitude, and a lot of parents don't like this.
Is it a school you have? Or?
It's a performing arts school.
But can you tell us the name? Yeah.
It's Vibe Performing Arts in Santa Clarita, and it's mostly music. But we have acting classes, we do musicals, voice acting.
So you're in constant contact not only with children, but also the parents who are entering this difficult phase of, I want my child to be successful, or even saying my child wants this, or whatever the rationalizations are, right? And there are talent, like yourself, there are children that are talented.
Oh, there are children where it would be cruel to not let them.
So that's kind of where you land.
It is, because I fought for it. I had to fight my dad. Because once, my dad thought working was bad enough. But then we were going on concert tour, believe it or not.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And you made albums too.
Yes, we did. And there was so much fame. And so me being gone a lot, like going on concert tour, bothered Dad. And he thought it was too unnatural a life for me. And the fame. Having people come up to us.
That level of fame. Yeah. I mean, that's a level of fame even I don't understand.
The first time I was mobbed.
Am I wrong? I mean, everybody recognizes you, right?
They did.
Because back then, people watched. If you watched one of the 4 channels back then, I mean, everybody really knew who you were.
Yes.
And by the way, with reruns, that obviously you grew older, but I mean, you were still on television.
Right.
You haven't been off television, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Brady Bunch is one of those series that will never go off television.
Well,
especially now with fast channels.
Well, and now, streaming. I mean, hopefully it will always be around, because I think it's always going to be good for kids. What I thought made it so uncool when I was young. It's like, now I'm a mother, and it's like, oh, there's good stories there, nice morals, and, teaching ethics. And so I think it's really, in fact, I tell my kids, my students, like, well, you should watch the show. I tell their parents, come on, make them watch. You have no idea how much it will help you in your parenting.
Do you think, though, there should be some, for lack of a better word, is there a limitation that I know they have labor laws, but I mean, is there, looking back, what would have helped you? More psychological support, more context, maybe a mentor that had been a child star that could at least voice for you, I understand how you feel. Like, what do you think actually would have helped?
I really didn't have any issues with it. I was born strange, and I wanted a strange life, and I fought so hard to keep. That can be deceiving. I was creative. It seemed like the right thing for me. There were aspects of it that I didn't like, but like in dealing with parents, the wonderful thing is where I'm teaching now. It was different when I taught for a little bit in Hollywood, and there all of the parents were very serious, and they wanted their kids working, and it was like, ew. Yeah. Here, I'm like, I had a parent come up to me and tell me that his daughter ordered in a restaurant with confidence like he'd never seen before. And he thought it was from the acting classes.
Sure.
I said, it is.
So
it's more
the good
for
outweighs
them.
the good outweighs the bad, you think?
Yes, I do. Now, what I honestly say to the parents, because we do get agents to come in and the kids will get signed, and I say, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing some work. Going to a set, they will find out that it's nowhere near as fun as they think. Where I get concerned is fame. Fame makes everything strange. And I think that when people are casting a TV show, and everything's so different now, but I used to say, you know, if you're going to cast kids in a TV show, you want the TV show to be popular. You want it to be a hit. So
if you're going to do it
accordingly.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, of course you want the best.
So plan accordingly, and you audition those parents. You make sure that the parents have their heads on straight.
Okay, that's interesting. Just because I look back at, and I've told this to people behind the scenes. People will ask, like, in the struggles that my band went through in the 90s, people will say, was there anybody that you guys could talk to? No. Was there anybody there who could give you good advice? No. In fact, they wanted us not to have good advice.
Of course.
They wanted to manipulate
Yes.
and control the situation.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying because I have young children, 9 and 6, I'm sensitive, you know, to this idea of like what it must feel like to kind of, because when you say fame, I don't know how it would register to someone on the other side of these cameras, but when you say fame to me, I know what it means. I mean, I really know that feeling of like, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff and there's a lot of stuff that's like, there's no manual. There's no like, hey, here's the fame manual. Read page 7 for what you're going through right now. And so then to add that to a 12-year-old child going through puberty, going through all the stages of child development, that just seems like a really tough thing to navigate.
And I think that was another reason why I wanted the show to end, because
back to your guilds.
Well, yeah, and
you have a good prayer ability here. I want to talk to you after. I got some things I need to manifest. I'm going to put you in charge of my manifestation department.
People ask, "Oh, it must have been so hard because you were so young," and I'm like, "No, we had 3 age groups. We had Maureen and Barry, we had Chris and Eve, and we had me and Mike, and going through it as the youngest, so much easier." Because we had wisdom.
You were the baby.
We had wisdom. We'd be concert tour, whatever, and we're like, to us, fame was a joke. It's like, there's all these people wanting to see us. Have they heard us? And yeah, I mean, our egos were not thriving on it. Whereas, with Maureen and Barry, they were just becoming interested in sex. And suddenly, I mean, Barry's up on stage wearing his fringe, and he's got all these girls screaming, and
he is a handsome man. I have hung out with Barry.
And then there was Chris, who was such a late bloomer, but he was so popular with the girls that they made him sing a solo. And they actually had Maureen singing for him backstage, which doesn't make any sense.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, because she sounds like a Minnie Mouse on helium. But the girls never heard because they were all screaming so much. Yeah. But Chris didn't like it. And he was so embarrassed by the fact that the girls would be screaming for him.
Again, the word mortifying comes to mind.
Yeah, but he got over that though, eventually.
I know there's some overlap here, but okay, so yeah, the show's canceled and you willed this into existence. No more Brady Bunch. It's your fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're still doing like animated voiceover work and.
Well, no,
is that true?
Pretty much that ended when the show ended.
Okay, I got the wrong information.
The next thing, well, actually, and this is a really, really lame tidbit, but we were still going to continue the music, but Barry wanted to do his own solo thing.
Okay.
And Maureen wasn't into it. And Chris stopped. Chris quit before the show was canceled. We had a last appearance with Chris in Minnesota. And because he hated it. He he didn't feel like he could sing, and he was right. And yeah, it was embarrassing to him. So yeah, at the time, I was like, "Oh, you're breaking up the band," but I thoroughly understand. But anyway, so the Brady Three were going to go.
The Brady Three.
Mm-hmm,
That's got a kind of a ring to it.
Okay, me, Mike, and Eve, and at that point, once again, I think I had power because we got this whole act done and we had costumes and I hated it. I thought it was horrible. I thought we were horrible and I really didn't want to do it. And we got our booking agent, who was Andy Williams' brother, Don Williams, and we never booked a single show. And I
Why?
It's just like, this is great.
He couldn't book it, or he didn't book it, or
I don't know what happened, but it was just, please don't let us go.
Okay.
Don't let us have to go out and do this.
It's one of the things I love about this ability to have these conversations is, were you aware of the zeitgeist of the show at the time? I mean, obviously there's the fame. Mm-hmm, yeah. And what I mean by that is not that you didn't see 8,000 screaming kids in an auditorium somewhere.
Right.
But did you have any sense that this thing would endure?
Well, the screaming kids didn't happen until we went out, with the music. And so we had been kind of sheltered. Sure. And growing up in Los Angeles, everybody knows who you are, but they pretend like they don't care, which is great.
Yeah, I do find that out here. It's an interesting thing that happens out here.
Yeah. And I love that. But so we didn't really know that we were that popular until we went out on the road. And I never had a sense of it being cool until years later.
Okay.
Because to me, it wasn't cool. And I knew I wouldn't work until I turned 18. And then, I got back in as an adult and it did not seem to be a good thing on the resume.
Well, what's interesting now to me is pretend that the Brady Bunch had just happened in this world, mm-hmm. and then fast forward, like you'd be in a Netflix movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because that level of fame and that level of personal name recognition, yes. Somebody would figure out to put you in some crazy movie or a comedy, or because they would want you. Because
TVQ.
Yeah. Back then, it was like this weird millstone around people's necks.
It was. And also, you couldn't go from television to movies.
It was verboten.
Yeah. And so to me...
Remember I think Bruce Willis, in my memory, was the first person that seemed to cross that barrier.
Yes.
Where a big TV star into... I know Tom Hanks did it, but it was sort of slow. That's true. You got me there.
But, so, yeah. And when I knew I wasn't going to work until I was 18 anyway. And what did you have available? Love Boat and Fantasy Island, which I refused to do.
I wish you'd done Fantasy Island.
I said, no, these are horrible shows. I'll have nothing to do with them.
If you're bored sometime, there's these great interviews of Ricardo Montalban talking about how Hervé Villachez his ego gets so out of control that he starts insisting that his trailer be as big as Ricardo Montalban's.
Oh, yes. Oh, tortured little man.
I wish you had inside intel for me on Fantasy Island. Sorry.
No.
That's just my own.
I wish, but I heard. I heard a lot about what was going on.
See?
Oh, yes.
So,
and if the dressing rooms are rocking, don't come a knocking.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yes, Hervé got around quite a bit.
I'm just going to leave that right there. I know you've done it's a book or something about the Variety Hour. So
yes,
you did a book.
Well, I'm one of 3 contributors. I wrote the sidebars.
Okay.
To
but it is a book,
Love You
right?
Brady's.
I'm not crazy.
Yes, it is a book.
Okay. I'm saying this lovingly, but it seems from a distance a particular hell.
Yes, especially at the time.
I barely remember it. Like it's like a faint 1,000 feet away memory. But watching it, I watched a whole show.
Oh, did you?
It was the one with Vincent Price. I think,
oh well, he was so nice.
Rip Torn.
Rip Taylor.
Rip Taylor.
Yes.
God bless you. Had the, I guess it was
the hell to pay.
Yeah, right.
They call it. Yes.
The hell to pay.
Yes.
I love the 70s. But I'm watching this. Okay, let me just. Okay, first of all, I have copious notes on just this thing, so you have to take me through this, and I highly recommend. It's on YouTube.
Please,
the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. Just watch the show where Vincent Price is the host.
See, I think that's one of the lesser ones. There's just a sketch that I think everybody should see.
Okay.
Called Christopher Columbus sketch.
Okay.
Because it's Robert Reed doing broad comedy, and happy as a clam. He was loving it, having a great time.
But still, you go from this very successful series to now you're like in a Vegas review or something. Is that fair?
I think there are several people on YouTube that have said, I thought this was a bad acid trip that I had, and I didn't realize it was real.
And I've taken a lot of LSD, so I wouldn't want to put myself through that, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's walk through some of the finer points that I noticed with my discerning eye. First of all, in the opening credits, there's kind of this dancing going on with these people. I don't know.
The Croftet.
Thank you.
Dancers. Yes.
Okay. Yes. There's a joke in there about crow's feet, and he's and the Brady father, he corrects himself. It's like a joke.
Oh, okay.
He calls them the crow's feet. He goes, "Oh, sorry, the croquette."
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so this is where it gets bizarre land, and right out of the box. Okay, so there's this Vegas stuff going on, and then they introduce you under your real names. You know what I'm saying? In the opening credits,
okay.
Florence Henderson, and you get all.
Yeah, okay. But we're still playing our characters.
So yes, yeah. So you're introduced in the opening credits on a variety show where you're playing.
Yes, we're still playing a
fictitious family.
Yes,
as if it's real. Mm-hmm. So just that alone
So it's the Bradys from that sitcom now, for God knows what reason, have a variety show.
By the way, put together by Sid and Marty Krofft. Okay, you want to talk about acid trip? Okay, now we're okay. Yeah. Okay, first of all, canned music. Did you tape in front of nobody? Like it sounds like, is anybody there?
Our grand finale, our final song, usually a medley. We had an audience for that.
Okay,
but everything, canned laughter, canned everything.
Okay. On top of that, you have, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is the world you've inhabited for a long time, Fake Jan.
Yes.
There's Fake Jan.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain who Fake Jan was?
Fake Jan is, and she was also parodied on The Simpsons. They had, because The Simpsons got a variety show. Exactly.
Fake Jan. I didn't know there was a Fake Jan.
Well, there's a Christmas Cindy and there's a Fake Marsha.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the heck out. Okay, but tell everyone who Fake Jan was.
Okay, Fake Jan. Eve Plum had done Dawn, Portrait of a Teenage Runaway, this TV movie that was huge and just broke her image, and she was off to the races. She's going to have a great career. And she was contractually signed to do the sequel, which was called Alexander, the Other Side of Dawn. And so they replaced her. And it's kind of sad because Eve was enough of a team player that it bothered her. And even though I made, the one time that Florence Henderson gave me a look that I'm still shocked that I didn't turn into a pillar of salt. If looks could kill. They were all talking about Eve and, what's she doing with this and that. And I said, don't we all wish we had something better to do than this show?
Wow.
Well, Susan.
This is like you're 14-ish around here.
15, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, carrying on. So you guys have an opening production number. Mm-hmm. You're doing some...
Which is usually something from the 1700s.
Because there's no publishing to pay, so it's free. You're wearing orange jumpsuits.
Yeah, in the first one.
There's a lot of bad dancing. No disrespect to your dancing ability. And then for some reason, there's a built-in pool in the studio.
Yes.
So then it turns into this Bugsy Berkeley thing where the Vegas dancers who aren't connected to the family at all, the Croftet, I'll remember that. So then they're diving in the water.
Yeah.
And then they're doing like the weird,
what their name was when they were swimming.
But they're doing like the weird water dancing.
Oh, yeah, and going through little hoops.
And then they cut back to you guys doing your weird 1700 song.
Well, now remember, Sid and Marty Krofft also had a show called The Donnie and Marie Show. Okay. And they had a skating rink. So they had the skating rink and we had the pool.
Okay. And then if that's not enough for you LSD lovers, here comes HR Puffin Stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Is part of the show.
Yeah.
But okay. And then there's like this weird segment where you're all sitting on like a long bench and you're talking as Brady characters, but you have this natural rapport because you know each other so well. And then it goes out of there, like the bad canned lines like, I'm really mad at you, Peter, and all this stuff. And then it goes to like a skit, like a film skit.
Yeah.
Like a sitcom skit.
Yeah.
But not as well produced as the Brady Bunch.
Right. It's still videotaped. And it's very obviously videotaped. But but that's the Bradys doing their variety show where they're doing skits. But then they have the at-home moments. And now we're living at the beach. And Rip Taylor is our real estate agent. And he and Alice, boy, they hit it off. So she's done with Sam the Butcher, and she's
in love now. And despite this madness that I was watching at 6 a.m. this morning, the chemistry of you all is other than fake Jan, God bless her, the chemistry of you all is totally intact.
Yes,
there's so much money there to be had with you all. You have this incredible kind of weird. I don't even know. It's like you really are a family somehow, or you became one.
Yes. And yet we never had to live together. So maybe that's why we didn't get on each other's nerves.
Yes, I was just going to say.
And I think anytime they get us together and let us be ourselves, like the HGTV show, it's always good because we have that. It's the most unusual relationship. And then for us kids, we did grow up together.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And we know, when I was producing my special Brady Bunch home movies, I started crying when I was pitching it. I said, we all know that there's only 5 other people on the planet that will ever really know what our childhoods were like. Yeah.
That is fascinating.
And if one of us were to die, we would all lose a limb.
See, everyone from the outside sees it outside in, and you all see it inside. It goes this way, not this way. That's fascinating. Okay, a few guests that appeared on the variety show. Donnie and Marie, Tony Randall, Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett, Milton Berle.
Yes.
Tina Turner. Charles, who I'm trying to interview.
Oh.
Do you know Charles?
She's lovely, yes.
I'd love to interview Charles. Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy. Red Fox. And believe it or not, a man I actually was in the studio with today, Paul Williams.
Oh.
I wrote a song.
See, he introduces the Christopher Columbus sketch.
Okay, there is our kismet for the day. And here's a little factoid. So in doing my research, Robert Reed, Brady, father, was born in the town that I live in Chicago. I had no idea. The only other famous person born in my town is Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, wow.
And he was born in the town I live in, which is Highland Park, Illinois.
Wow.
It's one of those things when you're doing something, you look and you go, wait, am I reading? Yeah. How crazy is that?
That's not a common town.
It's a bucolic suburb up the coast in Chicago.
And then was raised in a turkey farm.
Did not
away from the city. Yeah.
Did not know that. Florence Henderson obviously had this kind of, I guess you would call a more obvious professional career pre-Brady, and hesitated taking the role for the fear that we talked about before, which is this idea of typecasting. And her resume is fairly impressive coming in. Oklahoma, Fanny, Sound of Music, but like a touring cast, but still.
She was Broadway.
That's an elite crew of people.
Yes.
That's not for the faint of heart to do those 8 shows a week. We've talked about how you and the other kids in the cast sort of reacted to the pressures. In the case of the Brady father and the Brady mother, they're professional.
Mm-hmm.
They have a career and obviously would look at it differently. Did they feel boxed in by the whole thing, or was it because some people that I've talked to, they default to, hey, a working actor is a happy actor, and I just go on until there's no more job, and then I go on to the next job.
Yeah, it's funny because there are those two different ways of looking at things. I'm friends with Eric Roberts, who will just work, and it
He
makes
doesn't have this rep
sense.
now. He's like the most working actor ever or something. I saw an article recently where they said he literally will take anything and everything, and
Yes.
he's gained this rep as the most working actor in Hollywood.
Okay. Yes, but I understand it. Once I got to know him a little, I mean, it's not like we're best friends, but he was trained at the Royal Academy in England. Now, that is the British mindset. If you're not working, you're not acting. So you see a lot of British actors, they'll do jobs that are beneath them, but they'll do it because they need to be working. Whereas an American actor will go, gee, if I take that, it might typecast me, or, I can't do TV because then I can't do movies or whatever. So being that Bob was educated at the Royal Academy as well, I would think that he was kind of the mindset that he wanted to just keep working. I don't know that he felt, I don't know that any of them really felt that they were hemmed in. Because for Florence, her first love was music. So she would go on to, she hosted some shows.
Yeah, there's all these clips of her singing and.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was what she loved to do. She would do a Vegas act, and so it didn't really hamper her from doing those things. But I'm sure that Bob did not get the serious roles that he wanted.
Sure, not to project on you, because again, it's television, but they're the adults that you're intimately around every day. And I'm not saying they took on the role of parents, but there's a surrogacy there.
Yes, there is.
How do you, now that you're a parent yourself and, we've been blessed to have a longer life, how do you view how they, I say more interested in how they were with you? Like, do you look back fondly on?
Very much so. And this is why I'm teaching kids today.
Oh,
I want to pay it backward, because I had at least 3, many more, but at least 3 castmates who were wonderful. I remember Robert Reed talking to me about cartoons with the very same respect that he would discuss Shakespeare with one of his peers. I tended to speak like I was 40 years old when I was 7, and it was cute. But I often didn't get taken seriously, or I get laughed at. And Anne was always very good about, come here, honey. Because I'd be asking, are we going to cut at that point and pick it up later, or are we going to go straight through? And I'm 7, and they'd all just laugh and come here, honey. We're going to go straight through on this take. And then later on, when we do the close-ups, we'll blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
So, and like, come here, honey. And she didn't like kids when she started the show. And I'd like
Was
to
there
think
a reason
that we
for
changed
that,
her heart. Just, who wants to be bothered with kids on a set? And most actors really don't, they don't want to work with kids or animals. And of course, that's my favorite. But, for me, people were so good and so kind. Ken Curtis playing Festus, so kind. My mother was very aware of who the good grown-ups were. And a person's value as an actor depended on how well they treated her kid. Mm-hmm. So Spencer Tracy was a schmuck. And Jimmy Stewart was only outshined by Robert Reed.
I heard a myth when I was a kid that I might be loosely related to Spencer Tracy.
Really?
Yes.
quite an actor.
Unconfirmed. I have a lot of rumors about my
Yes.
my bloodline.
Yeah.
It's a parlor game to do these types of things, but if you hadn't been an actor at such a young age, who do you think you would have turned out to be? You know, do you think would you have been the same person? Then by extension, what do you think you would have wanted to do with your life?
I probably would have still gotten into art because that was the first thing I knew I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always kind of a first love. But I have the feeling that I still would have loved film as like the ultimate medium because it involves
to make
writing,
film or be in film.
To make film. I would have gone to film school, which is something I kind of wish that I had done.
It's not too late.
I'm 63.
People are living a long time these days. My grandmother lived 103.
Oh, well. The thing is, I was considering USC. And it never, and I don't understand why it didn't click into my head because I was going to go into the drama department there. And then I went, well, why would I spend all that money? Because it's my money. I've got my trust fund. I'll go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which is about 1/10 of the price. Why it never occurred to me that what I really wanted to do was to go to film school at USC. That was the right place for film school.
But is it just because you're in the expectation of, I've done this, I've had success? And
kind of. And I think I was trying to please my mother. I think my mom really wanted me to be an actress. And it wasn't until I was 23 and I booked a gig. And I went, oh my God, I hate acting. I don't want to act.
What was the gig?
Oh, it was an episode of Divorce Court, and I played a porn star who had incestuous relations with her brother. And
that's something really perverse about you being from a TV family.
Yeah.
Playing in another show. And so, that's a bit of a weird meta take.
And I had this little habit of going on auditions and just killing it, doing a great first read, and then, as I got closer and closer to the role, I would self-sabotage. And I didn't know that was what I was doing until I came out of the first audition with the script in my hand going, oh, I got it? Oh, no. And then I realized. Can you give
me what would be a form of self-sabotage in that?
Just sucking, just going back on the audition and not doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even being nervous and letting the nerves get to me.
I mean, you've been on camera for.
Yeah, but I went through a period of time where I was really, really full of stage fright, just filled with it. I was like 30 and did not want to do it. Sonny Bono was very kind to me because I was going through all this stage fright. And before doing a skit that we had to do on this 70s celebration.
But you think that maybe would have been a result of kind of leftover, because, it's like when you throw a kid into something early and they don't really know what they're being thrown into, they learn a certain bravado.
Yes.
My son being with being on a roller coaster when he was 5, now he doesn't want any.
Yes. Donny Osmond went through it too.
Okay.
And I mean, he had been going on stage since he was 5.
Was it a stage fright thing? Yeah.
Yeah. And he developed horrible anxiety. So, it happens. But I got home. I knew I had to do the gig, but I called my agent. I said, I want out. And I called my teacher. I was taking classes with Harry Master George. It was a wonderful class too. A lot of people that ended up winning Oscars. And I said, this isn't for me.
When you approach a subject that's so institutionally over-observed, we've had the books, we've had the reunions, we've had the VH1 look back, whatever, you've been in that thing for now, gosh, if the show ended in 72, when we 50 something years of people talking about it, thinking about it. And obviously there were other things that happened, but I mean, the core original series is the thing that people focus on. It's where the memories lie. And not to be judge and jury, I found myself thinking like, okay, what is the value of this thing? I mean, I accept that it's a cultural, institutional thing of American culture. Like it belongs in the Smithsonian. And there's even down to Sherwood Shorts making the decision. It was two divorcees who had putting their families together. I was in the same situation, So it was familiar to our generation, that was watching at home. But I started thinking, like, what's the real takeaway here? Like I get it. I think it's cool. And in fact, I meant to tell you, I don't remember there was a play in Chicago that started the Brady play.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that was
real live Brady Bunch.
Okay, that was 2 doors down from where I was working. So I knew all those people. And I was there literally when it started. They would come in the record shop where I was working. They would say, oh, we're going to do this thing. So I went and saw some of the early performances. And I thought, oh, this is so fun. And but it took off. It became like a thing.
It was way fun. We had in LA, Chicago, and New York.
Sure. So, I mean, I was literally there at ground zero of this other weird variant
the
of
this. The sisters. They started it.
But I guess what I'm trying to explain to you, artist to artist, is I'm sitting here thinking this morning, 6 a.m., like about the Brady Bunch. But it's like, why does this matter to me? And even for anybody watching saying like, okay, but it's cool, but like, why are you talking about the Brady Bunch 50 years later? Like, how does it really register for some goth musician, And I think I found the key, and I'm curious for your take, and maybe it's nothing you would even recognize. I think so many kids of our generation were latchkey kids.
Yeah.
And something about watching this fake family, which I know in its own way became a family, it was like we wished we were in that family because we didn't have that. And I'm sure you've heard variations of that. And it gives me chills thinking about it because you're a little kid, you're 9 years old, you're watching The Basement or whatever, you're watching a rerun, whatever. And, you think it's corny and, there's the famous episodes and all that stuff. It's good fun. But I think the sustain in it is we recognize something that was really vital that maybe even the show's producers and writers wouldn't even understood, that there was this whole generation of kids alone in basements and in front of televisions like we were going, well, gee, that looks a lot more fun than what's going on here. Whether I like to make this joke, we were abandoned by our baby boomer parents who were too busy doing yoga and cocaine. That's my joke. But, it was a very selfish generation.
Yeah.
And there's the term latchkey comes from the fact that we'd come home to an empty house. That was normal. It wasn't even a big deal. So what becomes your parent? The television.
Yes.
So on one hand, you have this idyllic, like I said, Eric Estrada riding down the hair blowing and everything looks so amazing and all of it, even you remember like Battle of the Network Stars and all this, there's the stars in reality playing.
Circus of the Stars. That was
now you're going
awesome.
Deep. Now you're going deep.
Because they really did cool stuff.
Did you ever do any of those?
No, I wasn't asked, but it was amazing to me because they would actually get good at these things that were dangerous.
Anyway, my harp here is that I think that's why it's warm in my heart and why I wanted to talk to you, because there's something there that's a lot more powerful than whether or not somebody likes the show or doesn't like the show.
Yeah.
Zeitgeist moments happen in our culture for reasons that are a lot more complicated than what it appears to be on the surface. So somehow you all kind of represented this happiness or this warm.
And it was a need. It's an emotional
weird,
need.
Right? And it never would have crossed my mind unless I knew I was going to talk to you. I had to actually process it. I did go, and I've spent a couple times with Barry, and I've talked to Barry on the phone, Barry Williams. Super sweet. What a nice person and cool guy. But even then, hanging out with Barry, I was more struck in the case of Barry, like he seems to kind of like made peace with the whole thing. Like I literally was walking down the street with him and somebody's like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how that goes. It's like, it's not your real name, but that's who they think you are, right? But talking to you, I think it was like, it all kind of came back. Like, wow, I remember thinking like, gee, I wish I was in that house.
Yeah.
It looks a lot more fun and sweet and cool.
Well, that's why, because you're absolutely right. And there are countless people that have come up to me and said, that show literally saved my life.
That's such. I mean, it makes warms my heart because I don't feel alone in this
Oh, no,
feeling.
you're not alone at all. And when I first became really proud of the show is when I found out that child psychiatrists were using it. They were using episodes for kids that were coming from horrible abuse. And, you know, I would have thought, well, why would they want to see this perfectly good family? They do. They want to see somebody being happy. They want to see that there's hope.
Yeah.
And I realized probably in my 20s that the beauty of the show is that it was written from a child's perspective. I mean, Cindy loses her doll. Well, everybody cares. The whole house is up in arms about it. They have a mock
See, well,
trial for Bobby.
If I lost something, they said, tough shit,
yeah, right, right, exactly. You know, Dad's calling, you know, home from work. Well, did you find Cindy's doll? You know, and so it's a fantasy. It's not realistic, but that's the fantasy the kids want.
But that's
who doesn't want that?
But that's why those Disney movies are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about reality. It's about a destination. And when you don't have a destination, if somebody gives you one, you just like, it's like a water or something.
Yeah.
It's like, give it to me. Okay. So last thing, because your time in that show is so oft explored, but this is my indulgent question in that. So, few things. Where did you guys shoot the show? What lot?
Paramount Studios.
Okay, Paramount. What was a obviously you're young, so there were probably some labor laws, but what was a normal week of shooting, you know?
In the beginning it was crazy. We were trying to do a show every 3 days. When things calmed down and we had a real rhythm, it was you got a script, a new script on Friday. You had the weekend to look it over, read it. Monday there'd be the table read, start rehearsing, start filming Tuesday.
Okay.
And so it would take a week. You know, once we had the budget to put a little time into the shows, and we had a week to film.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, we're also we tried to film as much as we could during the summer so that we wouldn't have to go to school. But we had to go to school on the set. We had to have 3 hours of school. Yeah. So that could be rough. You know, the teachers, everybody's pretty kind and mindful. If you know, if you had a difficult scene,
yeah,
it's okay. The math test can wait. You know, you just think about what you need to do.
Okay. So last indulgent thing, and
indulge all you want.
No,
it's
but
fine.
God bless you. So sometimes I have these dreams, right? And it's like I'm backstage somewhere with the band, and you know, it's like there's an atmosphere. And so my version of the dream is, you know, somewhere in the ether, there's you at 8 years old on that set, but you were actually there. It's not a dream, you know? So give me something of what it was like to be on that set. Did you think it like I'm sort of fascinated where sometimes you go places and, you know, in your mind, it's one thing. And then you see like the paint is scuffed or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you saw our living room floor, it was cigarette butts all over the place.
Right. That's kind of what I'm after. Is like you actually stood in this dream place. This magical mid-modern, whatever it was with the staircase and the thing. And
the AstroTurf lawn hurt. I was always wearing these short dresses, so I skinned my knees many times on that AstroTurf. And you mentioned that the house. One of the fun things about the house was being able to have people walk into the house. We redid it. We, you know, like built it with HGTV, and watching people walk through those doors.
Oh, that's right. You guys,
yeah, watching them turn into a 9-year-old. I don't care who they were. They instantly turn into a child. And I thought we should do a talk show because it'd be like getting the guests drunk. We get them in, they'll be all vulnerable and sweet and nice.
That would be me. That would be me. Oh, thank you so much. I love talking to you.
Thank you.
So
hey,
fun.
Anytime.
Awesome.
Thank you.